You're standing in the fallout zone. The detonation was 12 miles out, far enough that you're not ash, close enough that the invisible rain is already in your lungs, your water, your skin. Every breath is a deposit. Cesium-137, strontium-90. Particles so small, they slip past every defense, embedding in your bones, your thyroid, your gut. This isn't radiation burns. This is internal contamination. And if you don't get it out, it'll kill you from the inside over the next 6 months, slowly, painfully, cell by cell. But there's a compound, FDA-approved, used after Chernobyl, stockpiled by governments, sitting in hospital emergency kits right now. It's called Prussian Blue. And the wild part? It's made from one of the most common elements on Earth, iron. The same stuff in rust, in dirt, in your blood. This blue powder is the only thing standing between contamination and death. First, understand the problem. Radiation poisoning has two flavors, external and internal. External is the burn, the dose you get from being too close. Internal is the deposit, radioactive particles you breathe, drink, or eat. They sit in your digestive tract, get absorbed into your bloodstream, and lodge in your organs, emitting radiation for years. Cesium-137 mimics potassium, so your body absorbs it like a nutrient.
Strontium-90 mimics calcium and heads straight for your bones. Once they're inside, they don't leave. They just decay, irradiating you from within. That's the nightmare. You survived the blast, you found shelter, but you still drank the water. You're contaminated. Enter Prussian Blue. This isn't a folk remedy. It's iron ferrocyanide, a crystalline compound used as a pigment since the 1700s. The same blue in old paintings. Chemists stumbled on it by accident. But in the 1960s, researchers discovered it binds to radioactive cesium and thallium in your gut like a molecular sponge, trapping them before your intestines can absorb them. You take it orally, it travels through your digestive system, latches onto the radioactive particles, and drags them out the other end. You literally poop out the contamination. Here's how it works. Prussian Blue has a crystal lattice structure full of empty spaces. When cesium ions enter your gut, they get trapped in those spaces through ion exchange. The cesium binds, the compound stays intact, and it all exits your body as waste. Studies show it can reduce internal cesium contamination by 50% or more. It doesn't cure radiation sickness, it doesn't repair cell damage, but it stops the contamination from getting worse. It buys you time. And this has been the protocol. After Chernobyl, thousands were dosed with Prussian Blue to prevent long-term cancer. In 1987, a radiotherapy source was stolen in Goiânia, Brazil. Scrappers cracked it open, and cesium-137 dust contaminated an entire neighborhood. Doctors used Prussian Blue to treat the victims. It worked. The FDA approved it in 2003 specifically for radiation emergencies. Now here's where it gets interesting. Prussian Blue is synthesized from compounds derived from iron-rich materials, rust, certain clays, even soil. During the Cold War, scientists explored low-tech synthesis methods in case supply chains collapsed. The point is, the compound that saves lives in a nuclear disaster is made from the most abundant metal on the planet. But let's be clear, you don't make this in your garage. You take the pharmaceutical-grade version prescribed by a doctor. The margins matter. Too little is useless. Too much blocks essential nutrients. In an emergency, an adult takes 3 grams orally 3 times a day for at least 30 days. The compound itself is non-toxic. The only side effect is your stool turns bright blue. That's it. You're alive, and the poison is leaving your body. The science is brutal and beautiful. Your body doesn't distinguish between a nutrient and a radioactive mimic. Prussian Blue intervenes at the gut level before absorption, providing an exit route. It's a passive molecular trap that works on chemistry alone. If contamination is the invisible killer, Prussian Blue is the invisible shield. Next, we go deeper. Why governments hoard it, what happens if you can't get it, and the Cold War science that proved dirt and rust might be humanity's backup plan when everything else is gone. Prussian Blue binds radioactive cesium in your gut and escorts it out of your body before it can wreck your cells. It's FDA-approved, clinically proven, and sitting in disaster kits worldwide. But here's the question nobody talks about. What happens when the supply runs out? When hospitals are gone, pharmacies are looted, and the stockpiles are empty? That's when chemistry becomes survival knowledge. And that's when understanding where Prussian Blue comes from might be the difference between contamination and clearance. Let's rewind to the Cold War. The Soviets and the Americans were terrified of the same thing: nuclear war, followed by total societal collapse. Both sides researched low-tech methods to synthesize critical medicines in case supply chains just evaporated. Prussian Blue was high on that list. Why? Because it's simple: 2 ingredients, iron and cyanide compounds. You don't need a pharmaceutical factory. You need basic lab gear, or in an extreme case, improvised chemistry. Iron is everywhere. Rust is iron oxide. Certain clays are loaded with it. You can find iron-rich minerals like hematite and magnetite in the soil. The cyanide part sounds scary, but ferrocyanide isn't the poison you're thinking of. It's a stable compound used in food additives and blueprint paper. Historically, it was derived from animal byproducts: hooves, horns, blood, heated with potassium carbonate. Medieval alchemists were doing this without even knowing what they'd made. Here's the process in broad strokes, and I'm not giving exact measurements for a reason. You mix a ferrous iron solution with potassium ferrocyanide under controlled conditions. The result is a deep blue precipitate. That's Prussian Blue. Rinse it, dry it, and you have the raw compound. Now, let's be brutally honest. You should never attempt this unless every other alternative is gone. Pharmaceutical-grade Prussian Blue is tested, dosed, and safe. Homemade synthesis could be contaminated, have the wrong ratios, and do more harm than good. This knowledge is the last resort. It's the backup plan for when civilization is offline. Because after a nuclear event, the supply chain collapses fast. Pharmaceuticals are looted, hospitals are overwhelmed, government stockpiles are distributed to the military and essential personnel first. You're last in line. And if you're last in line while contamination is ticking up inside you, knowing that this compound is synthesizable from common materials is knowledge that could save your life. This isn't just theory. After Chernobyl, rural clinics ran out of Prussian Blue in days. Doctors improvised.
Some used activated charcoal, far less effective, but better than nothing. Others contacted chemists, who synthesized small batches with whatever they had. It wasn't pretty, but it kept people alive. In Goiânia, Brazil, in 1987, scavengers cracked open a radiotherapy source, spreading cesium-137 dust. Hospitals mobilized, but supplies were limited. Prussian Blue had to be flown in from other countries. If that had happened during a wider collapse, those supplies wouldn't have come. The knowledge would have mattered more than the product. Here's the science of why it works. Cesium-137 is a beta emitter with a half-life of 30 years. Inside your body, it irradiates your tissues constantly. Your body can't get rid of it because it mimics potassium, an essential nutrient. Your cells hold on to it. Prussian Blue changes the game. Its molecular lattice structure has a high affinity for cesium ions. In your intestines, it intercepts the cesium through ion exchange. The cesium binds, the compound remains stable, and your digestive system passes it right out. A single dose can reduce cesium uptake by 50%. Let's do the math. Say you ingest 10,000 becquerels of cesium-137. Normally, your body absorbs 8,000. With Prussian Blue, that drops to 4,000 or less. That difference is measurable in cancer risk, organ damage, and life expectancy. It's not a cure, it's harm reduction. But in a nuclear event, harm reduction is survival. Governments know this. The US, Russia, France, the UK, Israel, every nuclear power stockpiles Prussian Blue. But it's finite. Once it's gone, it's gone. This is why this information matters. Not so you go out and try to make it, but so you understand what it is, and that a solution is, chemically speaking, within reach. In a real collapse, survivors are the ones who understand the fundamentals. So here's your takeaway. Prussian Blue is real, proven, and life-saving. In a radiation emergency, your first move is always to find it and follow medical guidance. But if you're in a scenario where there is no guidance, where the stockpiles are gone, understanding the science gives you a path forward. You're not helpless, you're informed. And in a nuclear wasteland, information is the most valuable resource left. If contamination is the invisible death, this knowledge might be the only thing standing between you and a slow, radioactive end. Now you know.